Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to say thanks to each and every one of you for coming to testify. I want to, for Mr. Egley, wanted to give a special shout out to him. My uncle, back in the 1960s, before the now defunct Southwest Conference started accepting black athletes, he had an opportunity and graduated from Abilene Christian University. And so I have my late uncle, so we have Abilene Christian University shared value there, so welcome. Mr. Beamer, we're here to talk about NIL, and I will tell you that I think that one thing that the Southeast Conference is facing, and I talked a little bit, touched on that earlier when I mentioned the Southwest Conference and integration. I think that the SEC, particularly with all of the governors and the wokeness and DEI that they're bringing to these college campuses, I think y'all are going to run a lot of the brothers off. Honestly, I'll be straight up with you. Y'all need to figure out how you're going to make your campus comfortable for the black athletes that are playing there with all of this rhetoric around some of these topics. Mr. Whitman, I wanted to also point out, you talked about the grades, and I think that you're right on to mention that. What worries me, and everybody knows it, it's not anything new, that in order for players to stay eligible, and in order for players to be able to participate, that there are certain degrees that are off limits, certain degrees that make it really tough for them to be able to major in if they don't want to be moved down the depth chart and if they want to be able to stay on the team. And so it's great to talk about that education is still one of the priorities, but everybody knows that game has gone on for a long time, that there were players that had all these credits and the credits absolutely led to nothing, or they get a degree in something like general education to where it's not really a lot that they can do with it, and no one really knows what those degrees are for. And so I'm glad that you're talking about the education, but that brings me to my first question. I want to talk about, and I know that you're not from UCLA, but want to just mention this. They're going to travel over 22,000 miles this season, going from the West Coast all the way over to the East Coast. And Stanford, USC, Washington, other schools are going to face those same demanding itineraries. And this is going to be disruptive to their academics. And so with knowing that you're going to have that increased physical and mental fatigue that's going to be taking place, how is that good for the student athletes? I really don't understand that. These increased travel schedules, I'm just curious, how have athletes been able to work around that, and how has it impacted them academically?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. We've had the chance now at the University of Illinois to participate in the expanded Big Ten since the beginning of the fall, and so have some firsthand experience watching a number of our teams make those trips. The thing that I would remind you is that we continue to try and champion our student athletes both in their academic and their athletic pursuits. And in the expanded Big Ten footprint, just as an example, for schools that compete at the level that we do, we're used to traveling nationally. Our student athletes in all of our sports travel extensively across the country to participate in their non-conference competition. And so for Illinois, we've now replaced some of those non-conference competitions, maybe in California or Texas or Florida, with now conference competitions. And so the chance for them is not that much different than what it was before. And we're also able to provide them with robust academic support. We have tutors and academic advisors who travel with our student athletes to help them study when they're on the road.
And so, sorry to cut you off, but I'm running into time. I want to ask Mr. Falsinelli about that too. Could you touch on that?
Yeah, we had a number of games, and traveling across the country is incredibly taxing, and especially to the point of, I really want to get on the point of your practice schedule far outweighs your academic schedule, to where the majority of your time as a college athlete is spent on your sport, in your workouts, in your team meetings, in your practices, traveling for games, to where I've had a number of times where you're getting off that bus, returning from a game at 7 in the morning and the sun's coming up and you're thinking, great, on the way to meetings and then back to bed and hopefully I'll be awake for class on Monday. Those long-distance games are very tough and oftentimes lead to lack of sleep, lead to lack of all these issues that are part of it, and that athletes do enjoy the race. Athletes are all about the grind on it, but it is incredibly difficult and taxing to manage having a final later in the week when you're not sleeping for part of that week.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.